QST, QST, QST. Good evening, everyone. This is W5 CPO. My name is Phil. Welcome to the Crossroads Ham Radio Club's monthly Tech Net number 8 on the W5 LCR repeater, linked repeater system. Hang on just a sec. Turn that off for a minute. If anyone has any emergency or priority traffic at any time during this net, please call break, give your call sign, and the net control operator, that's me, will recognize you and handle your traffic. This TechNet meets on the first Monday night of every month starting at 8 p.m. local time and is simulcast on the Crossroads Ham Radio Club's link repeater system, covering South Central and Southeast Texas. We employ a variety of technology options, allowing connectivity to the system. For a complete list of linked repeaters with frequencies, offsets, tones, and supported modes, please visit our website at www.CRHRC.org. That's www.CRHRC.org. Also, you can find TechNet information located at www.technet.CRHRC.org. Again, that's www.technet.CRHRC.org. Tonight's net is being logged in real time over the internet using NetLogger. I'd like to thank Brenda, KJ5 Alpha Delta Oscar, for being tonight's NetLogger and helping me keeping straight with the check-ins. For tonight's TechNet session, we will also be on Zoom. If you'd like to follow along, please join us by going to www.zoom.crhrc.org. That's www.zoom.crhrc.org. There are 3 different ways to check into tonight's TechNet. First, check in by NetLogger simply by connecting to the Crossroads Ham Radio Club session, and the NetLogger will see you appear in the Monitor tab. Once the NetLogger sees you listed there, you will be automatically checked in for the net. Second, you can also check in by joining us on Zoom using the CRHRC Tech Net Zoom session at www.zoom.crhrc.org. That's www.zoom.crhrc.org. Once in the Zoom session, type in your call sign in the chat area, followed by check in or check me in or whatever. Example W5LCR check in. Third, for those of you that are not connected via NetLogger or Zoom, we will take check-ins on the repeater system after the general Q&A session. During the duration of this TechNet, all Zoom mics will be muted. The Zoom session is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. All Zoom participants can pose questions, conversations, and discussions inside the Zoom chat via text, where other subject matter experts can assist while the net is simultaneously taking place over the air. Once the TechNet has completed, all mics will be unmuted. If you would like to follow along, you can download tonight's presentation as well as past presentations on the CRHRC TechNet webpage by going to www.technet.crhrc.org. This presentation has also been sent this past weekend to the Crossroads member list. Again, my name is Phil. My call sign is Whiskey 5 Charlie Papa Oscar. I will be the net control operator for the monthly TechNet session tonight on the W5 LCR repeater system and Zoom. W5 CPO on the W5 LCR repeater system with the Crossroads Ham Radio Club's monthly TechNet session. Tonight, Whiskey 5 Charlie Uniform Yankee as W5CUI, Chris, will be presenting a presentation regarding ARRL Field Day. After the presentation has concluded, the net controller will ask if anyone has any questions or comments regarding this specific topic. Provide your call sign, and the net control operator will call on you for you to present your question. You can also submit your questions on the Zoom chat. Once all the questions regarding the presentation have been addressed, the net control operator will then open the net for any general tech questions related to amateur radio. At this time, we will hand the net over to my good friend Chris. Christopher, are you there?
Yep, good evening, Phil, and everybody on the Tech Net. I am here. I can't figure out how to log into my personal one, so when it comes time to share screen, make sure you share it with the CRHRC Zoom participant. Sorry about the QRM, and here it'll be done shortly.
Yeah, Chris. Bill, you're handling that?
K5LK. I thought Chris was going to share his screen. I can if he needs me to.
All right, is that working? Can you see the presentation by itself?
Yes, I can.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. Welcome to the CRHRC Tech Net episode 6. Tonight we'll talk about ARRL Field Day. I want to talk to you tonight about Field Day, why it is important, as well as go over the important details of our CRHRC's participation in Field Day. Got a little bit of different stuff going on this year. So here's a picture of one of our previous Field Days. See a lot of happy smiling faces there. That's before we got all hot and finished setting up. Well, what is Field Day? Well, Field Day is an annual amateur radio exercise sponsored by the American Radio Relay League and encourages emergency communications preparedness among amateur radio operators. Since 1933, Field Day has been the largest single emergency preparedness exercise in the country. That's pretty impressive. To determine the effectiveness of the exercise and of each participant's operation, there's an integrated competitive component. They say Field Day is not a contest, it's an operating event, but I like to think of it as a contest as well. The competitive component involves contacting as many other stations as possible while learning to operate radio gear in abnormal situations and less than optimal conditions. So when and where is Field Day? Field Day is always the fourth full weekend in June, beginning at local time 1 p.m. Saturday and running through 1 p.m. Sunday local time. And the last full weekend in June this year falls on June 22nd and 23rd. And where we're going to be doing it is at this new venue in Louise, 605 South Street in Louise. The Louise Hill G Chamber of Commerce has a venue there called The Mill. It's an old rice mill, actually, that they've turned into a venue, stripped some of the buildings out and converted some of the remaining buildings. And we got plenty of room to stretch out. Anybody that wants the coordinates, there's the official coordinates of the Field Day site. I'll take you close enough. So some of the amenities that this particular venue provides us, we will have RV parking on site. There's no hookups though. There's no camper sites, nothing like that. If you have an RV and you want to bring it out, it's all got to be self-contained. So you've got to have your own power and water or tanks or however all that works. I'm not an RV guy, so I don't know, but I do know they need to be self-contained. While we're out there, we're going to have the use of the entire property. It's pretty spread out. There's an indoor kitchen and food staging area, plenty of tree covered pavilion for the radio setup, which I'll get into in a little bit, show everybody where we're going to be setting everything up. It's extremely accessible to the public. Louise is right on Highway 59, for those of you that don't know. There's plenty of parking, And the best part, air-conditioned restrooms. Big upgrade since last year. Here's a pin there on the map. Gives you kind of a general idea where Louise is if you're not familiar. Previously, down here on the lake is where we've had our field days before. It's a great setup, great location, but we want to try something different. Practice setting up in those adverse conditions and unknown territories there. So Louise is on Highway 59 in between Ganado and El Campo on Highway 59 South. So to be able to have the competitive component, stations operating during field day are grouped into classes. So you're hearing classes a lot. So this grouping allows for setups of similar size and type to compete against each other. Even though it's not a competition, kind of keeps everything on the same playing field. So Class A is what CRHRC is, and a Class A is defined as a club or a non-club group of 3 or more persons set up specifically for field day. So that's not using any existing antenna structures or anything like that. That's going out into the wild and setting up for the sole purpose of field day with 3 or more people. Class B is kind of the same. It's 1 or 2 persons, portable, and QRP 5 watts or less, and not on commercial power or motor-driven generator. So typically you think of that as battery. B is battery is normally what I think of, Class B. But that's low power and very portable. Class C stations are mobile stations in vehicles capable of operating in motion. Could be nautical, aeronautical, or people powered. There has been bicycle mobile field day stations running on HF. That's pretty impressive to get those in the log, but there are those stations out there. So Class C is designated for mobile stations. Class D stations are home stations, people operating from a permanent or licensed station location on commercial power. And Class D has a similar category of Class E, which is the same thing, home station, just on emergency power. So if you got battery backups or generator at the house and you're running on that for field day, you will be considered a Class E station. And then the last class is Class F, which is operating out of an EOC, an Emergency Operations Center. So I always like to do this before field day, kind of look at the numbers and see what the comparisons are of the different classes and the number of entries over the last few years and kind of see where the numbers are trending. As you can tell by looking at this, in 2019, we were kind of almost split in half, right? Almost half the people were out in the field and the rest of the other people were kind of spread out, some home stations. Then we had, and we only had 3,000 entries with a little over 1 million QSOs in 2019. In 2020, we all remember what happened then, and nobody wanted to be outside. Everybody had, the world was turned upside down. So you saw a big shift in the numbers. We went from Class A stations, this is overall nationwide, from 41% in 2019 to 6% out in the field for 2020. And you can see the difference in the home stations. D and E went from 39% up to 81% in that 1 year. And the added bonus is, look, we went from 3,000 total entries in 2019 to 10,000 entries in 2020. So we had a lot more people on the radio that weren't on the radio in 2019. Whether they were at home or where they were at, they were on the radio. And we had close to double, you could almost say double, 1.8 million QSOs entered in for 2020. I won't bore you through all of those details. These are the same numbers, just on a graph form. It's a little easier to see. You can see this kind of turquoise color, the D and E. You can see the spike here as it's coming down the farther away we get from 2020. And also the Class A stations out in the field stations, you can see that number starting to trend back upwards, back where I think it should be, but that's maybe just my opinion. This is W5CUY with the Crossroads Tech Net presentation on field day. So the equipment that we're going to be running on our field day, we're going to be running a 2A South Texas station. So we're going to be a 2 transmitter. So we'll be 2 stations out in the field. We're going to have 3 antennas out there. We're going to have old red, white, and blue, the trusty tri-band beam again, making an appearance this year. And that's going to give us 10, 15, and 20 meters on the tower there, on the crank-up tower. Also new to the arsenal this year is going to be a DX Commander Classic, and that'll give us 80 through 10. That's a multi-band quarter wave element vertical, wire vertical. We'll also have the inverted L back again, and we hang that off the mast, off the crank-up tower rather, and that's going to give us 80 through 10 with the radials there too. We'll also have a ZS6 BKW dipole as a backup. That'll give us 40 through 10. Our radios, we're going to have the same arsenal of radios that we've had several years now, the Yaesu FT991A and the ICOM 7300, and we'll have a 7200 out there as a backup when the Yaesu decides it doesn't want to work anymore, which will probably be right away, but hey, we won't hold Yaesu responsible for that. So I did tell you we've got use of the entire property, and this yellow shaded area is the entire property. So you see we got this whole, basically one city block and then another half a city block. This to the west of Victoria Street is going to be all of our RV parking and overflow parking. We'll have some parking down this side of Victoria Street, but I figure most people are going to be parking along here. There's parking on the other side of the road between the railroad tracks and this road here coming in, which is South Street. So we've got parking there, parking there. We've got plenty of trees, and these are some of our buildings that we discussed a little bit. We're going to look at a little zoomed in picture here real quick. So here's a zoomed in picture of where the mass concentration of the setup is going to be. There's our really big building, and then the smaller building, and our covered pavilion here is not labeled as number 3. So number 1, that's where we're going to have the tower with the beam and the inverted L is going to be roughly plus or minus where that X is. Number 2, off to the side there is going to be the DX Commander vertical. We're going to have that over there in that area. Number 3, that covered pavilion that I mentioned, that's going to be our main operations area. We're going to have all the radio stuff set up there, and we'll have plenty of room to accommodate visitors and give tours of that area as well. Number 4, to the southwest of our main area there is our inside area. That's where our air-conditioned restrooms are, as well as our food prep area and kind of a general hangout area. It may be a little hard to see from this picture, but where this kind of purplish colored roof is and this wider colored roof, where this wider colored roof is a really high covered carport that's in the back of the inside area. So there's a roll-up door and a big walk door back here in the back. On the north side of the building, there's a couple of big slide-in doors, and there's one of the, this is the name of the company, big-ass fans inside the main common area, which will, if there's no breeze, we'll make our own. So one of the other things that we're going to have in our operations area is a GOTA station, and the GOTA is the Get on the Air station. Now this station allows for members of the general public, newly licensed, and generally inactive hams a place to get on the air. The GOTA station can operate on any field day band mode. The GOTA station must also use a different call sign than the club station, but uses the same exchange as the club station, which will be the 2 Alpha South Texas 2A STX. 5 points per QSO, and the GOTA station also qualifies for an extra bonus as a separate line item. The GOTA station really is intended for and provides us a chance to showcase easy deployment antennas and how easy it is to operate amateur radio to the public. This will be our main kind of visitor usher into area would be the GOTA station, and we'll be there to support the public and invite the public, welcome the public, and kind of show them what ham radio is all about and give them a chance to get on the air. Ben, KI5YDV, I don't know if he's in here tonight, so I'm not committing him. He did agree to this. He's going to be providing the GOTA station this year. Thomas did a fantastic job last year of bringing out and setting up the GOTA station, and so Ben's got some competition there. Hopefully he can one up Thomas a little bit. We'll be anxious to see that. But thank you, Ben, for volunteering to bring out the GOTA station. So what contest, operating event is an operating event without some basic rules, right? These are just some of the high point rules. For a list of the complete rules, you can follow that link at the bottom there, the ARRL link, and that'll take you to the full field day rules if you're really bored and want to read through all of them. But the basic ones here, 6.1, a person may not contact for QSO credit any station from which they also participate. So what that means is if you come out to the Crossroads field day and you help set up and you operate and you go home, you can hear us on the air. You can work us, but just let us know that you were out there, and then we won't log you, and then we're being good with the rules. But yeah, that's what that means. Anybody that's out at field day, participating at field day, can't go home and for QSO credit work the other station. 6.3, field day contacts are allowed using phone, CW, and digital modes. Stations can be worked once per band per mode under this rule. So what that means is you can work W1AW on 40 meter phone, you can work W1AW on 40 meter CW, and that's totally fine. That's not considered a duplicate. That's the same band but different mode. You cannot, however, work W1AW on 40 meter phone twice and get double the points. The use of more than one transmitter at a time on a single band mode is prohibited. So that speaks a little bit differently than 6.3. What that means is that we're going to have two transmitters. We can both be on 40 meters, but not on the same mode. So we can't both be on 40 meters CW on different parts of the band. One would have to be on phone and one would have to be on CW. And no repeater contacts are allowed, which could have a star by it because we're going to get into that a little bit, but no repeater contacts are allowed under like the basic logging. So to prevent multiple transmitters on the same band mode, much less the same band, what we've done in the past and we'll continue to do, because it's worked out very well for us, is utilize band tokens. So these band tokens are bandpass filters. If any of y'all have been out to the last two Tech Net POTA events, you'll see these bandpass filters in use. But if you have the 40 meter bandpass filter, be on the 40 meter band. 15 meter, 10 meter, 20 meter, those are the bands that we're going to concentrate on, those four, which is why I built bandpass filters for those four bands. So if you have the 20 meter bandpass filter, don't just flip over on 20 and start working, because more than likely there's somebody on 40. So if that bandpass filter is available, then that band is also available to work. This is W5CUY in Louise. So some rule changes for 2024. Just go over these a little bit. This first one here, this GOTA bonus, is basically a clarification of a rule that does not allow GOTA bonus points to receive power multiplier bonuses. There was probably not intentional, but maybe out of confusion with the rules, some issues in the past with GOTA stations claiming power multipliers, which is clarified now under this rule change for 2024. The second one, public location, there was a clarification in that also. The ARRL intends the definition of public location to be a place that allows for members of the public to be greeted and engaged. And this was also updated to be available to Class A, B, and F. So they made some clarifications there. The last rule change for 2024, similar to the safety officer bonus that's available to Class A stations, now, new to 2024, a 50-point bonus is available to all other classes for having a person designated to make sure the site is safe and providing a contact person for visiting public officials or served agency officials. So this was nothing that was available before to any other class than A. Now this is a special add-on for all other classes. As long as they follow the requirements of that rule, they're allowed to get that 50-point bonus now. So the exchange, we talked a little bit about that. You heard me say 2 Alpha South Texas, 2A STX. So that's the exchange. And contacts will exchange information about their setups. That will be your exchange. You'll exchange the class, which includes the number of transmitters, like our case will be 2 in Class A, 2 Alpha, and section, the ARRL section locator, which is where you are. So to reiterate, the W5LCR exchange for field day will be 2 Alpha South Texas. What are sections, you may ask? I think I heard somebody in the back asking that. So these are what sections are. These are the ARRL sections, and pretty much you could say that each state has their own section with a couple of exceptions. Texas, we've got 3 different sections: North Texas, South Texas, West Texas. We can say South Central, Southeast, all this other stuff that we like to, but when it comes to contesting and ARRL official sections, those are the geographic zones, and those are the names of those zones. If you look at California, because they have to be different, I think those are that's the state that has the most sections. Also on the East Coast, there's New York, and I think New Jersey is in there somewhere too, and of course Florida. They've got a couple of different sections within their state boundary as well, and these are the abbreviations for the Canadian ARRL sections, like British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and those are what you'll hear. And don't worry, I know this is a lot of information. There will be cheat sheets at each one of the operating stations at field day, so it's going to have your sections on there, and not to worry. The one thing I like to try to iterate, especially when contesting, is use standard phonetics, especially when it's possible. We'll have phonetic cheat sheets there as well too. It's what both sides expect to hear. It really is, and you'd be amazed at if you try to use some of the phonetics on the left there, like the dimwit, flatulence, hernia, radioactive. You know, you're expecting to hear Romeo or Oscar or hotel. You're not expecting to hear non-standard phonetics, and it makes things take longer, and sometimes it's actually difficult to hear because you're expecting to hear foxtrot and not flatulence. Somebody may have to repeat flatulence several times before you understand that, oh, that's an F. I gotcha. So use standard phonetics. It sounds kind of silly, but you'll see operating field day and other contests that there's a reason for it. So when we talk about operating contests, there's really 2 different ways of operating. You can operate in a run mode, or you can operate in a search and pounce mode. In a run mode, what you're doing is you sit there and you find a clear frequency, and you park on that frequency and you call CQ over and over and over and over and over. That's what run operations mean for field day, as well as the majority of all contesting. Search and pounce is the exact opposite of that, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're tuning around and you're listening and you're waiting to hear the guy call in CQ, and you work him, and you turn your knob and you go to the next station. So that's search and pounce. You're searching around and you're pouncing on that station. There's no specific scenario to run one or the other of these for field day, whichever the operator is more comfortable with. If you feel it's more comfortable to search and pounce, which is I think probably what the norm is or more common, that's totally okay. If you want to sit there and you want to try to navigate a pileup, I think Miss Brenda can be a good person to explain how the first time that feels when you try to navigate that pileup there, when you got a bunch of people coming back to your CQ. But both have their advantages and both have their own little rushes associated with them too. So however you want to operate, those are the 2 ways to operate that you can pick from, either run or search and pounce. So here's an example of field day QSO in run mode. So station 1 is red and station 2 is green, and Brenda's over at W1AW, so we're going to make a contact with her. So, we're sitting there and we're calling CQ Field Day, and Brenda comes back with her call sign, and we say, hey, W1AW, please copy 2 Alpha South Texas. And Brenda says, QSL, please copy 3 Delta Connecticut. That's her exchange. Say, thanks, 7-3 QRZ, and we repeat. So that's an example of how run mode goes on with a field day QSO. And search and pounce is the exact opposite. You're tuning around and you hear CQ Field Day, this is Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey, and you answer with Whiskey 5 Lima Charlie Romeo. And then he comes back and says, hey, we hear ya. Please copy 3 Delta Connecticut. We say, thank you, Brenda. That was very nice of you. Please copy 2 Alpha South Texas. And then there's your dinner. Now you got another one in the log. So here's kind of an overview of the scoring. I don't want to get too in-depth with this because it's not really something that you got to worry about on the end user part of it for the club. But phone contacts count as 1 point apiece, and CW and digital contacts count as 2 points apiece each. So each CW and each digital contact is worth double what a phone contact is worth. That's just how the rules are set up. There's also power multipliers. I kind of talked about that a little bit a minute ago with the go to station, but you get different power multipliers for lost my spot there. Power multipliers for how much or what power you're running, what kind of power that you're running for your station there. Well, in an effort to stay legal and not receive any additional postcards, this is W5CUY Chris and Louise with the number 6 Tech Net edition on Field Day. So here's some basic contesting tips, and I can't say this first one enough. Listen. It's really the biggest tip that I can give you is just listen. That's how you're going to learn what's going on. Try, if you can, to get the exchange and the call sign before you answer a CQ. And that's going to do 2 things for you. Field day is very busy. It's very crowded. There's people on top of people, half a KC on top of you. Sometimes it's really hard to hear. So if you already get their call sign and their exchange, all you need to do is give them yours and make sure that they got that information. So it doesn't matter if you can hear them anymore after that, as long as you know that they received your information, then your job is done there. But it's happened more times than not. The band will either fade or the other station will lose power or somebody just comes in on an adjacent frequency really close and you can't hear them anymore because they're covered up. But as long as you can get through and know that they got you, you already have their exchange. You're not wasting more of your time trying to get it when you can't hear them anymore. If you can't get through the pileup, and it's just hard, you think that they just can't hear you, maybe tune up a little bit. Take the VFO knob and tune it up just a little bit. It works in sideband and in CW as well. Gives you just a little bit of a different tone to stand out against the pileup. It may work, it may not. Just a tip. Listen for the cadence. Again, with the listening. When somebody's trying to navigate a pileup, typically they're going to either be listening in the beginning or the end of the pileup. They're either going to have the prefix and not the suffix, or they're going to have the suffix and not the prefix of the call sign. So it's real easy to tell if they're listening at the beginning or the end. But wherever they are listening, try to be there. You got a better chance of making that QSO if you're where they're listening. And coattails, some people may put a frown on their face when they see me say that, but it works, and there's nothing wrong with it. Take advantage of dead airspace when you're listening to a QSO and you know that they logged it or they're still typing and everybody's waiting for them to say QRZ. Before they say QRZ, throw your call sign out. They may be listening and ready to hear what you have to say. They just haven't said anything yet. So just throw your call sign out there, see what happens. An important one with CW is try to match the speed. If you've got your keyer set to 30 words a minute, and you've got somebody calling CQ at 15, 20 words a minute, and you just throw up all into their receiver at 30 words a minute? Did I time it out?
If so.
All right. Well, I don't know where I left it off, but just listen. That's probably one of the most important ones, and try to match the speed on CW. I'll try to watch that timer closer. Sorry about that. So we did talk a little bit about bonus points, and these are most of the big bonus points here that are available for field day. Running 100% on emergency power qualifies for bonus points. Media publicity, public location, public information table, educational activity bonus. Previously what we've done is like an antenna building exercise. This year I'm really excited about the educational activity bonus for our field day. KA9 IKK Bill is going to be doing a traffic handling presentation, as well as we're going to be passing some traffic during field day. I think that traffic passing is probably one of the original reasons that ham radio operators came in existence. And not only is that something that's great to honor and remember how to do in case of an emergency, but I think it's something that more of us need to learn how to do, myself included. So I'm really excited in this year's coming up educational activity bonus on traffic handling. So we'll actually be passing messages from our field day location out into the traffic system, the traffic handling system, utilizing ARRL radiograms. Also for bonus points, youth participation. If you see some kids running around out there, grab them and put them in front of the microphone. Don't squeeze them too hard though. They may complain about that. But we got kids. My kids are going to be out there at some point. They're going to be forced into bonus points for the club there. So, but if you got kids or grandkids, bring them out. Field day is a perfect place. There's a perfect place to run and play, but there's also opportunity for kids to get on the radio out there too. Social media, we've got some social media coverage that's going to get us some extra bonus points there for field day. Safety officer Thomas and Josh have been so gracious to donate their time this field day to being the safety officers once again. So I appreciate those guys for stepping up on that. We'll get into that, the safety officer, a little bit more. I spoke about the go-to station contacts. Will get us extra bonus points for each one. Also, having a go-to station is worthy of some bonus points as well. And for the traffic handling, we'll get bonus points for each of the pieces of traffic that is passed from our field day location as well. I've only got 72 more slides, guys, so I appreciate y'all's patience so far. No, that's not much longer. I do want to go over the 2023 results, though. That link there at the top, that'll take you to the actual field day results tab, and you can go read previous articles and all that stuff. But I kind of want to brag about field day from last year. It was not only was it amazing to meet a lot of you guys that I had never met before and play radio with you guys in person, but man, we also kicked some butt out there too, which is pretty cool. So in South Texas, in the STX section, ARRL section, there was 120 entries, and our field day W5LCR ranked 8th place in all of South Texas. The entire South Texas, we ranked 8th place. And in 2A South Texas, we took 1st place this year. Our 2023 aggregate score was 6,427 points with 3 contributors to the club. So what the aggregate scoring is, real quick, I'll touch on that. In the days of the cooties, the ARRL came up with a rule that said, hey, you don't have to go out to where your club is. You can just operate from home and then contribute your points to the club through the aggregate scoring. So that's something that kind of just stuck around. They haven't eliminated that yet. So 3 contributors contributed their points for our club to have a total aggregate of 6,427 points. And N5 YZI Preston, W5 CPO Phil, and KC5 PPG Calvin were the three contributors that contributed to our field day. So thank you guys for that. Round of applause. So these are the top four 2A South Texas entries. W5 LCR, we were there with 676 QSOs and 5 participants. That participants number is by the rules supposed to be the people that actually operated the radios. And then that was our total claim score was 3,943. The 5 participants does not count the GOTA. For the sake of this, didn't count the GOTA participants either, but we had, I think, 7 or 8 GOTA station participants last year that operated just that station specifically. Williamson County Amateur Radio Club, Bryan Amateur Radio Club, and Matagorda County Amateur Radio Club's scores and QSOs and all that are there as well. So I did say we were 8th in South Texas, and here's the top 5 in South Texas. Out of all of South Texas, these were the top 5. Number 1 was BVARC there. They operated a 10A setup and had 20,000 points, and they had 5,308 QSOs. And I won't read off all the rest of these here, but you can see that a lot of people were busy. But you had some home stations and the Johnson Space Center Amateur Radio Club. I believe they operate out there at NASA on the grounds in an emergency operations center. There's somewhere that's pretty cool there, but they had a good turnout for their field day as well. And once again, it's the W5CUI, Chris and Louise with the Tech Net presentation on field day. So I mentioned the aggregate scoring. If you want your individual points to be added to the club aggregate score, when you submit your log, this is what the log submittal is going to look like. Under the club or group name, make sure you click the drop-down box and select CRHRC. That will allow your points. You'll still get credit for your individual points, but they'll also be added to the aggregate score, like I listed on that results tab previously. So now we get to talk about being safe at field day. So Josh and Thomas are going to be the safety officers. They're going to be walking around with their nightsticks. And Josh, don't let him catch you if you're doing something bad either, because he will let you know. Believe me. These guys, their main focuses are going to be making sure that fuel is stored properly. We got fire extinguishers. The temporary antenna structures are properly secured and marked and flagged off where people can't just walk up and trip on them or whatever. Everything's fine in the daytime, but the sun goes down and some stuff gets hard to see. They're going to make sure there's no tripping hazards or coax that's on the ground that's not, flagged or anything like that. Also, just generally to make sure everything's neat and orderly and reduction of hazards. And if the cops show up because we're having such a great time, send them to Josh. He will be the designated point of contact for the public safety officials. If he's busy, I think Thomas will already see him coming, though. He'll be hiding. But those are the primary roles of the safety officer there. So really, safety is all of our responsibility, but these guys, they're going to be having an extra eye towards that safety and making sure that we're all safe and we all go home in the shape that we showed up in. So the login software that we're going to be using for field day is N1MM Logger. This is a great contest logger, not just for field day, but for general contesting. It's feature rich and it's priced very reasonably too. The low price of absolutely free. You just download it and it works. It's got CW decoders built into it. It cat controls with your radio. You can set pre-recorded macros for your F buttons, or you can click on the screen. It's pretty powerful. It's a very powerful bit of software. One other thing that N1MM allows us to do, I did mention that we're going to have 2 radios. They're going to be able to both be capable of being on any band as well as any mode. But this logging software is going to allow us to make sure that we're not having any duplicates. Without the utilization of a software like this, if you have one station set up to run phone and the other one on CW, and you decide later on in the event that you want to switch the roles of those two, and maybe you want to run CW on the Yaesu now, you won't know what the other station logged in their log unless you can see that log. So what N1MM allows for is network logging. So we'll have one designated computer as the master, and that master receives the logs from both of the stations and then synchronizes it and sends it back out in real time to both of the stations. So while you're sitting at one station, not only will you see the contacts you're making, but you will also see the contacts that the other station is making in real time as well. So N1MM utilizes UDP packets over the network to transmit all of this data, as well as cat control data. There's a lot of stuff that N1MM does in the background with UDP packets. The beauty about UDP packets is you can capture them and you can do all kinds of cool stuff with them, like make a dashboard. So this dashboard that we run out at Field Day is running off of the N1MM UDP packets that are on the network. So this shows us in real time on a display out at Field Day what each station is doing, which operator is sitting down, what mode you're using, what frequency, and if you're doing run or search and pounce. It'll also calculate your QSO rate, and we'll show you in real time on the map, as you can see there in the middle, all of the pins for the last 20 minutes or so of contacts in real time on the map. So you can see where you're getting out on what band and what mode. Also, with this dashboard is a built-in operator contest, even though it's not a contest. It's a contest within a contest. So you can compare operators and see who's got a higher score, who's made more QSOs, who's got more multipliers, and this is all in real time. So you can be sitting eating your chips and you can see, oh man, Thomas just passed me up. I better get up and get on the radio. And this has been really fun over the last couple of years. And this is a picture of the N1MM dashboard. Sorry about the clarity of the picture there. It was night and probably had bug spray on my camera lens, but that was 2 years ago, the N1MM dashboard. That was pretty neat. Almost done, guys. So what should you bring? Bring a chair, whatever flavor bug spray you like, a sunscreen, whatever's your favorite, bring that out. Rain gear, knock on wood, we've been lucky and not had any torrential rain, but we've always got to prepare for those adverse weather conditions. So bring some rain gear just in case. If you're bringing out equipment, make sure maybe you've got like a big plastic tote you can throw it all in real quick if it does start raining, and you're not running around in the rain with all of it tucked under your arms or something. Try to run for cover. We're going to have plenty of water there, bottled water iced down. But if you want to drink anything else, bring that with you. Just remember to stay hydrated best you can. It's going to be hot. Snacks. We're going to be having a meal. The club is going to provide a meal Saturday evening. So if you're going to be coming out, and I believe the Thursday net before Field Day, we'll be trying to get an accurate count as we can of how many people are coming out so we know how much food to buy. We want to make sure if you're coming out, we've got some food for you. So we're going to do some chopped beef sandwiches, and I'm going to make a crock pot of beans, and we're going to have some chips as well. So just be mindful when we get a little closer. If you can, be on that net to let us know if you're going to be there. We can make sure we got enough food for you. And anything else you want to bring, you got gear you want to play with, or you want to test an antenna out, or you got another radio you want to try, or a battery, bring it on out, and we'll play with it. As long as it doesn't interfere with the operations of the main club stations, you're more than welcome to bring out and do whatever. I think we've had some satellite apparatus brought out before, and some DF binding stuff, and all that stuff. So if you want to bring anything out like that and play with it, be our guest. And headphones. Don't be getting your ear goo all over my headphones. There's going to be enough of it from me on there already. So bring out your own headphones if you want to use headphones. And remember, the main takeaway is have fun. Have fun and make some contacts. Improve your operating skills. Learn something new if you can. There's going to be a lot going on. It could be a lot going on. So there's plenty of opportunity there to learn something new. Plenty of brains around there to pick on a problem that you may have been having, or you just need to bounce some ideas off of somebody. There's going to be a lot of expertise around there. Be safe and have fun. And that's all I've got. So I think we'll open it up for questions now, but I'm going to turn it back over to Net Control. This has been W5CUY. Thanks.
Y'all thought I fell asleep. It's W5CPO. My name is Phil. I'm on the W5LCR repeater system with the Crossroads Ham Radio's monthly Tech Net session. We would like to give a big thanks to Chris, W5CUY, for that great presentation. You know, I'm going to open up the net and let everybody say thanks to you, Chris. Everybody, if you feel like getting on the net real quick and saying thanks to Chris, do it now.
Great job, buddy.
Thanks, Chris. Good job.
Well done, Chris, KI5. Wow. Thank you, Chris, KI5, WFP. And you check that great presentation. Well done, Chris, KG5IZ. Wow, Chris, I didn't know you had it in you. K5LK, way to go.
Thank you, Chris. KI5HVF, Darren and Sealy. Thank you, Chris. KE5WFD, Harvey and Angleton.
All right, that was awesome. Good job, Chris. So I'm going to open up the RF portion of the net for questions. Let me get your call sign and your name. Give me your call sign slowly and phonetically twice, and give me your name. And if you got a question for Chris out there.
This is
I know somebody's got a question. Of course, Chris, you did cover pretty much everything. Anybody got a question on the over the net? Stepped on you again. Try again.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5 Whiskey Foxtrot Bravo. Elisha from Southwest Houston. This is a great net. A lot more of field day tidbits and that sort of thing. Really enjoyed it, and this is the first time to be on the net.
Roger that. Appreciate you getting in here with us. Thanks for checking in with us. Anybody else? Anybody got a question?
Still taking check-ins, Phil?
Not yet. I will hear after we're done with the question part.
Roger. W5ITZ.
K5LK here.
5LK. Bill, you got a question for Chris?
Yeah, I sure do. Great presentation, Chris. Really did a good job. Probably a kind of a two-part question we can. I met you and a lot of the folks Crossroads down at Lake Texana last year, but I guess my first question is just in general, kind of for newly licensed hams, what are your kind of suggestions for them, the real benefits of coming out to field day, and what are they really going to be doing, looking at?
Well, thanks for that question, Bill. That's actually a great question. I can remember back whenever I first got licensed, I think one of the hardest things for me to do was push the TTT button, especially on HF. But I think probably the biggest benefit of a newly licensed ham coming out is basically seeing what it's all about. Not only ham radio, but field day and contesting and the camaraderie and the togetherness that we all share in this hobby. That's a really big benefit. I think the ability to meet like-minded people and build the confidence up with them to be able to ask your questions, things you're unsure about, things like that. Realizing that nobody's going to bite your head off. We all enjoy the same thing. I think that's probably one of the biggest benefits for a newly licensed ham to come out to field day, is to experience some of those things.
Comment?
I agree 100%. I missed the first field day because I had just gotten my license the week before, didn't know what was going on. The second one, me and Josh sat there and made all kinds of contacts. It was an excellent learning experience, and it's probably what got me going into contesting, because I love doing contesting now. Even though it's not a contest, like Chris says, it is a contest. So anybody else out there got a question? W5CPO.
KJ5 ADO with a comment.
Double there, and we'll go with Brenda first. KJ5ADO. Go ahead, Brenda.
Well, I was just going to say, well, those guys stole my thunder, but I participated in field day last year with the Matagorda group, and I was newly licensed, had never been on HF before, but I learned so much just in that one day, and I kind of got over my fear of talking on the radio. So if you're a new ham, you should go out there and go give that a try. You're going to learn so much.
And that was Brenda, KB5 PBM third-party traffic.
Yeah, Brandon. Robert, did you have something?
Go ahead, Robert.
I was just announcing that was third-party traffic, Robert. Brenda, sorry about that.
W5CPO. There was another station in there, double with Brenda. Come on back.
Yeah, 5SIJ. I got a quick comment.
KI5SIJ. Josh, go ahead.
Well, for anybody that have not actually attended one of the Crossroads Ham Summerfield days, a couple of the things that I would want to make sure everybody knew about is that it's a great opportunity to meet club members and interact with other club members that you may have heard on the air that you may have not met in person or may have not met at a breakfast. The other thing is it's a great opportunity to be able to put hands on with other types of ham radio equipment. There are several pieces of equipment that generally show up. I'll be bringing a couple pieces this year myself to show off. Some of the stuff is homemade, some of it's store-bought, but it's a great opportunity, especially for new hams, to actually see a variety of equipment. And it provides them the ability to ask questions to people that are familiar with the equipment and kind of get feedback. We actually had something similar to that happen out on Saturday. And it's a great forum to be able to help everyone. It's not just new members, but existing members and licensed ham operators as well. Whenever they see something that they're not familiar with, questions generally come, and it's a great forum for that type of experience. So I just want to throw that in there, and I look forward to seeing everybody.
Roger that, Josh. W5CPO again. Any other questions regarding the field day?
I'll try it again with my call. KC5RXW.
KC5RX. I thought that was you, Scott. Go ahead, Scott.
I thought I had a distinctive voice, and I didn't have to use my call, but I got something to add to that, and Chris probably said it in his presentation, but even if you're not a general class or extra class, or you can come out there, even being a technician, you can come out to all the HF bands and use the club call, and that's cool too, because I had a lot of technicians out there last year that wasn't able to get on HF, and they were on the radio talking and making contacts, and was able to persuade them into getting their general class license to get on HF. So that's another thing I wanted to add. I'm sure Chris covered that, but that's what I got. KC5RXW.
Roger that, Scott. Thanks for the comment. Again, anybody else got questions for ARRR Field Day?
NA5D.
A5D something.
Yeah, this is Jimmy, North America 5 Delta NA5D. I mean, you guys are using a tri-bander and you have bandpass filters now. Has any thought been given to get a multiplexer so you can have 3 radios on that tri-bander at the same time?
Heard this question before. You got an answer?
Yep, I haven't done that for a couple of reasons. One, because I don't have a way yet to surefire lockout inadvertent transmissions directly into other radios. I don't know. I bring a lot of my equipment out there, which I don't mind, but I just want to, I like to protect it. But yeah, that's come up. I've kind of wanted to build a multiplexer, but I just hadn't hadn't done it yet. It's not going to happen this year. Maybe next year, or maybe the year after that. But yeah, that's it's been on the list, but it's been kind of on the back of the list. Does that answer your question?
Sure. I just wanted to see if that had been discussed, because they do work. The triplexers do work and do protect the radios. I'm heavily involved in the BBARC field day, and we use several of them.
Jimmy, can I get your call?
I would think you would almost have to. I think I saw y'all's results there. I think y'all were running 10 different transmitters. Is that right?
Yeah. We run 10A, so we've got a tri-bander and a 40-meter beam for the CW setup, for the phone setup, and for the digital setup. So yeah, we've got 3 sets of the triplexer setup.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'll have to maybe come out there one day and check it out. But yeah, that's a great expense though too. Those suckers are not cheap to build. Anyway, thanks for your question. That's a good question, and yeah, maybe I'll have to bump it up a couple notches on the list of stuff to do. Thanks for that.
Yeah, primarily just gives more people a chance to operate on the radio. When you got basically with the way you're setting up, you could set up as a 4A, put 40 meter on the dipole, and then have 3 rigs on the tri-bander, and you got 4 people operating at the same time. So gets more people on the air. Y'all have a good night. NA5D.
Roger that, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Anybody else with a question out there? Give me your call sign and name.
N5LNK, Sean.
Sean, N5LNK. What's your question?
Hey, Chris. First I want to say great presentation. Thank you. So I've never actually been down to Crossroads Field Day. Do you guys have a sign-up sheet or anything like that?
That's a good question too, Sean. When I originally started coordinating Field Day, I thought, man, I spent so much time devoting to try to figure out a sign-up sheet, and then I realized it's not necessary, because it's not like we have droves of people just waiting to get on the radio. Sometimes it's a challenge to find somebody to be on the radio. So no, we don't have any official sign-up sheets. There's never, well, with the exception of Josh, there's never been anybody really hogging the radio either, and no one to turn it over. But no, Josh was having a good time there. Nobody wanted to end that fun for him. But no, we don't really do the sign-up sheets. Not saying that we may not have to in the future, but it's just something that we haven't had to do yet. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, Josh. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I plan on coming down and visit with you guys for a little bit, and so hopefully I'll be able to get the jump on the radio then. That would be good. All right, back to net control. This is N5LNK.
Thanks, Sean. Anybody else? Questions for Field Day?
KI5UVY question.
KI5UVY. That's Brian, isn't it? What's your question, Brian?
Hey there, Chris. I've got access to that network in a box that I've brought out the last couple of years, and I was wondering if you still want that thing brought out, because we're right there next to that building and everything. It might be a nice little coverage area for Wi-Fi for the area.
Yeah, Brian, if that's certainly available, then absolutely bring that dude back out. Like I did tell you before, though, too, if there's an entity that needs it, more than just playing around like we would do with it, for sure, we would understand that too. And that would take precedence. But yeah, we could definitely utilize that. It would be nice to have Wi-Fi available out there again this year.
Roger. We've got 2 of those boxes now, so barring some sort of great disaster between here and there, hopefully nothing like that, yeah, it's available. So I'll kind of make plans on bringing that thing out. KI5UZY, clear.
Sounds like a plan, Brian. Anybody else? Questions for ARRR Field Day?
I got one more, K5LK.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll make it quick. Hey, Chris, I may have missed it. I know you talked about there's going to be a Saturday evening meal. You do know that you're going to have to compete with hot dogs, POTA hot dogs from KI5HPF.
Oh, well, I tell you what, I'll put up Mustang Creek chopped beef barbecue sandwiches up against Darren's hot dogs any day, even though I hadn't tried them yet. They got some pretty good barbecue over here in Louise, where we're going to be getting it from. But challenge accepted.
Yeah, Phil got that ball rolling with the hot dogs. So let's give credit where credit is due. Appreciate you, Phil, and just give me the idea to keep it rolling as well. So I think it's going to be a POTA thing for us from now on is hot dogs because they kind of hit the spot after a hard day of hunting when the bands are dead. KI5HPF.
There is nothing wrong with hot dogs. And if I got time, I'll bring out a giant bowl of potato salad for field day.
Hey, if you do that, Phil, there's a refrigerator in the food area to keep it cold in there too. That would be good.
I think I can make it the night before and bring it out that morning because I'll be there early. Throw it in the refrigerator. Sounds good. Any more questions for ARRL Field Day?
Well, in that case, maybe I'll put together a banana pudding like we had a couple of years ago and bring that too. And one last comment. Thanks to everybody who came out for the POTA event this past Saturday at Brazos Bend. That was a blast.
This field day is going to turn into food day. One more time, and we're going to open it up for general questions. Here, anybody else got a question for ARRL Field Day? Nothing heard. Again, Chris, outstanding presentation as usual. At this time, we're going to take questions for anything that involves amateur radio. Ask away.
Bet you had a double, Phil.
Another station out there trying to check in.
This is KI5OLG. It's me. I had a question about field day.
Roger that. Laura, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so my understand home stations are allowed because for years I've read on Facebook people saying home stations should not be allowed, and you have to be a member of ARRL, and are paper locks allowed because I don't have internet, so I've missed out on field days because I'm stuck at home all the time. KI5OLG.
Well, thanks for those questions, Laura. It's good to hear you. I think I've got them all down. And correct me if I miss anything. So, no, you do not have to be a member of ARRL to participate in ARRL Field Day. The club does not need to be an ARRL affiliated club either. We don't have to have any affiliation to participate as a club station either. It's just another operating event / contest that everybody gets to participate in. As far as home stations go, yeah, there's also some people that say, FT8 doesn't need to be on HF at all. It needs to be meteor scatter or something like that, or EME. But as far as I know, home stations have been allowed in field day for a long time. The way that I look at it is, it is field day, but sometimes the stations in the field can't hear other stations in the field, but they can surely hear the stations at home. And maybe some of those people that are at home are that way for a reason. They can't get out to the field for whatever reason it is. So I wouldn't want to be excluded from participating in field day if I was homebound or couldn't get out to a field day site or have the capability to set up my own field day, or run mobile. So that's my thoughts on the home stations, and I think that's probably along the same lines of the leadership at ARRL when it comes to making up the rules for field day and allowing the digital modes as well as home stations. Another thing with the digital modes is the FT8 specifically has opened the door for a lot of other technology that kind of has a backbone off of that too. And I don't know, I think it's a great thing. it's also brought some people into the hobby that otherwise would not have come in if it hadn't been for those particular digital modes too. So did I answer all of them, or was there one more that I missed?
Thank you. Got most of them except for do they allow paper logs? I don't have access to a good stable internet, so I don't know about getting that logging program if I could even possibly do it. And yeah, for the longest time I felt left out because I have not been mobile, was housebound, and couldn't participate in any activities on the air and everything. So hopefully maybe I'll even get my first HF contact finally. I don't know, but thank you. KI5OLG.
Yep, so to answer that question, absolutely, paper logs are still accepted for field day, and you can send them in via mail. I can send you some information on that via email if you've got a way to check email. If not, I can look you up on QRZ and maybe mail you some information as well as some blank paper logs and the information on where to mail them back. If you want to participate in field day that way. But yeah, don't feel like you're left out because of the lack of internet or wheels to get around to go to a physical field day site, like a club site somewhere. Just get on the radio and make the contacts. I know you got a 10-meter station over there. 10 meters there's gonna be a lot of activity on 10 for sure. That's one of the more popular bands too for field days. So, yep. If you want, I can send you information for the paper logs.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would appreciate that. KF5OLG here. My email is on my QRZ page. It's KI5OLGLC@gmail. And I do have a way of checking my emails. It's just that when I try to use my computer, the doggone thing wants to do updates and everything, and it sucks down my mobile cell phone data down like nothing. So thank you for all that. KI5OLG, back to that.
Absolutely, Laura, anytime. Any way we can help. Back to you, Phil, W5CUY Louise.
And I seem to remember sending you a list of contacts that were handwritten, or maybe I just typed them out on Word or something and emailed them to you the first time. So it can be done, even if it's handwritten. If you mail it to somebody that can, depending how many there are, I think I sent like close to 200 to Chris. He had to probably retype them all. Anyways, anybody else got any questions for the field ARRL Field Day event?
NA5D again.
A5D, go ahead.
And just to comment on the home station rules. Home stations have always been allowed. It wasn't until the pandemic that a home station could talk to another home station and get a contact. That was the big home station rule change during the pandemic. They haven't changed it back, so Class Ds can talk to Class Ds.
Yeah, you're right about that. And the one good thing that they did do in 2021 was change the power requirements, and from then forward, do not allow home stations to run more than 100 watts either. So that was another good thing that they did, because man, you got all the big beams and glass pointed at everybody and cranked up, and all the little guys out in the field couldn't hear anybody with their peanut whistles. But yeah, that was there's been some stuff happen with the rules for home stations. You're absolutely right.
KG5 by AZ asking for clarification.
Got a comment, Jim? Go ahead.
Yes, was there something like Class D station at home can only contact another Class D station, something like that?
That's how it used to be before the pandemic.
So the clarification on that, Jim, is before the pandemic, Class D and E stations could only talk to class other than D and E stations. But during the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, the rules were changed to allow D and E stations for QSO credit to contact other D and E stations as well, to open up more opportunity. But that's been something that's still in the rules, that home stations cannot contact other home stations for credit, but the power requirement has been reduced to, or power limit has been reduced to 100 watts for home stations.
So I understand a home station can contact anybody, but they're limited to 100 watts.
Can you repeat that?
That's correct. If I remember reading it last year, I was limited to 100 watts.
Yeah, that is correct. Home stations can talk to anybody, but they're limited in power to 100 watts. Everybody's limited to 100 watts now.
Roger, thank you.
This W5 CPO on the W5 LCR repeater system. Any other questions for ARRR Field Day?
Hey guys, I've got to run. It's been a pleasure, and I had a great time presenting Field Day, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody that can make it out. But we're going to have to say 7-3 for tonight and shut it down. But appreciate all the guys at the Tech Net turning knobs and pushing buttons in the background, making this thing work. Y'all have a good night. 7-3 from W5CUY.
Sounds good, Chris. Thanks for the presentation. We'll catch you later. I'm going to take check-ins right now before we move on to general questions. Anybody that hasn't checked in yet, call now. Send your call sign phonetically, slowly, and your name.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Whiskey Foxtrot Kilo Foxtrot 5 Whiskey Foxtrot Bravo. I don't know if I've already checked in when I submitted my first comment. Elisha, Southwest Houston, no traffic.
Do that, Elisha. We got you in there. Anybody else? So at this time, I'm going to turn the RF section over to general questions for anything amateur radio-wise. Had nothing heard. I'm going to turn this back over to regular repeater operations. This is Whiskey 5 Charlie Papa Oscar on the Whiskey 5 Lima Charlie Romeo repeater system. So you need to get that down for Field Day. Let's see, repeater system with the Crossroads Ham Radio Club Monday night Tech Net session. At this time, we're going to open up the net for, not the net, but the Zoom for any related questions and turn the repeater system back over to normal operations. Good night, everybody. 7-3. God bless.